Observe.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 34 of the Observe and Rapport show. I'm Kyle Brennan, joined as ever by my beautiful co-host, Keith Sullivan. Keith, how we doing today?
Da 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 da. Come on, man. Listen, I'm not saying I voted for the guy, but you know.
Look at you.
Hey, it's a beautiful day.
Yeah.
And look, I know everyone's going to hate. Oh, you vote for that sexist, racist, misogynistic pile of garbage. Bah, 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 bah. Yeah, look, you're watching stuff. I'm watching stuff. All the shit you're watching is ridiculous, in my opinion. It's based on I don't know what, but I just don't get what you guys are so like. Did you see the people, the flip outs on TikTok? People like just literally losing their minds, crying, screaming. Jimmy Kimmel's got to knock it off.
I didn't see what he did.
Bullshit with him.
What did he do? I heard the
He's
headlines.
just crying. He's just like, it's a sad day for Americans. It's a sad day for immigrants. Sad day for women. Sad day for what? Dude, people forget. Like, it's like the people who scream we're inherently racist. It's like, we had a black president. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, you know that was based on popular and electoral votes, right? So you're gonna tell me the whole country's racist? We had a black president. Look, I know
you came ready today.
I'm just saying, like, what are you talking about?
Wound up,
people
ready to go.
forget that this fucking guy was already the president. Like nothing that you like. I don't get the shamelessness of the left, right? Like the shameless accusations. Like they say he's gonna throw gay people in camps. Women are like, oh, it may as well be Handmaid's Tale. I
have heard that. A few times,
they're
actually,
like, I'll be surprised if we even get to vote. Right? And that's all the stories, right? Their stories like, I'll be surprised if we even get to vote next election. All my rights are being stripped away. And then the next story, they're like at a bar dancing, drinking martinis with their friends. I'm like, this is the dystopia? This is the totalitarian dystopia that we live in now. You're out and having a night on the town, getting drunk with your friend. What are you, like, and the guy was president, right? And it's like, he's going to throw gay people in camps. Huh? That never happened. Not even like that wasn't even like a discussion, let alone you would think if it was so you don't understand. He's a homophobic, sexist, racist, you would think that there would be at least even the mentioning of a gay camp or something. But what I'm saying is, what are they talking about, right?
Well, the thing that drove me nuts immediately after Trump won in a clear landslide was not that the Democrats were like, man, we really got our ass whooped. Like, we got to take a look in the mirror, figure out what the hell we did wrong. Like, how do we come back stronger? It was immediately, well, everyone must be racist. I was just like, oh, come on. Like, really?
Right.
That's what you're going to go with?
Like, I guess the whole country is racist and sexist.
It's just the people voted wrong.
Right,
and it's like, no.
350 million... 170 million people are all racist, sexist, misogynist, homophobic psychopaths. Really? It's not you. It's not you.
Well,
right?
665 million, I think, voted for Trump.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying half the country, whatever.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. Like, I saw on MSNBC, right? To your point, there was Reverend Al Sharpton, the great Reverend Al Sharpton, and some other white retard was talking about how they were like, Trump won and it's horrible and we're all going to die and everything. And then they were talking about how the black vote and the Hispanic vote were broke records for how many Hispanic and black people voted Republican this election, right? And how insane that is, and they couldn't believe it. And then they just blatantly said out loud on national television, they go, well, black men are sexist and Hispanics have a racism issue in their culture. I'm like, that's racist. How are you not seeing what you're saying? That's so fucked up to say about a whole demographic of Americans. Like, again, you'd think if this guy was so every day, 10 years straight, racist, he's so racist, then So you're telling me that all the black people and all the Hispanics who voted for him they just don't have televisions? They just don't have Wi-Fi? He won. I think he was seeing.
He was up in every single demographic except for white women.
But even white women voted for him, so like they all hate women too.
I think it was like
I don't get it.
I think it was like 42% of white women voted for him. So yeah,
it's just insane that like how they can't look in the mirror.
And I think
I
think like I've talked to a bunch of my very liberal friends who are pro, Kamala, and obviously a ton of them are just like very like accepting the defeat, whatever it is. But there's also a large portion of them that look at this as anyone I know who voted for Trump is like the enemy now. And I'm like your friends are voted for Trump, like your parents voted for Trump, like your neighbors. So like you're just gonna look at them like your enemy now,
right?
Like they're racist, misogynistic, like they don't care about your rights. Like that's just not true.
Yeah, like people like my dad's a misogynist. It's like he treats your mother like gold. Like what do you know what I mean though?
Yeah.
Like don't. It's amazing how they don't. That's everything. The term ideologically possessed gets thrown around a lot, but they really are. Like they don't live in reality apparently, because like you're saying, they're friends, they're family. They know these people. They know who they are. But no, you're homophobic.
And I like to I like to pride myself. I'd say a little humble brag, but like my ability to have an opinion and have a strong opinion, but be able to entertain the reality that someone of a opposing opinion might be living in and like empathize with it and understand it, where I might be on one side of the aisle on an issue,
right,
and feel very strongly pro or against it, whatever it might be. And I can talk to someone cordially in a debate who sits on the opposite side of the aisle and be like, oh, well, I understand why you think completely differently than me. You were brought up in a different environment. You have different values. For you, that's a really important issue. For me, it's a minor issue, whatever it might be. And I think to not have the ability to sort of entertain or steelman an argument, like to assume that anyone who voted for Trump must hate women or must hate immigrants or must hate, and it's just like, no, there's people who are really great men or women who have families, who are great at their job, who are, respectable people with integrity, who voted for Donald Trump. And also, I think we sometimes conflate a vote, and I think Trump did this. We conflate a vote for Donald Trump as if it's a stamp of approval for everything that he does and says. And I guarantee, besides like the loyal devotees who wear, the MAGA hats and like have flags on the back of their pickup trucks, I guarantee the vast majority of Trump voters will admit like, hey, I actually don't really like the guy a lot. I think he says some wild shit. I think he is very divisive at times, but his policies, he was a president, for 4 years. I really liked his policies. And frankly, it was more of a vote against the current administration. And I liked what he was doing, in, whatever it is, foreign policy and this and that. I don't like the guy. I don't like the messenger, but I like the message of the party.
Exactly.
And it's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And if you're a Democrat, like, why would you assume the other alternative, which is that, okay, that person is just a monster? No, It's like they probably had very reasonable, logical, and emotional feelings for voting for Trump. And maybe they did it reluctantly, or maybe they had a really good, like, for or against position that pushed them. And a lot of people were former Democrats. I know plenty of people who voted for Obama or who voted for Biden who are now voting for Trump. So like people switch. It's a weird time, and like
it's a weird time. It's a big change. There's a lot of reformations going on as far as the parties are concerned. Like they're not what they used to be. It's like Bernie Sanders said. I sent it to you in text. He said it's no wonder the working class abandoned the party that abandoned them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not talking about the things they used to talk about. Like their values obviously don't align with the average blue collar, white collar American anymore. They just don't. No one cares about what they're putting down. No one's picking it up. And instead of looking in the mirror and saying, listen, we got to change our game plan, they go, well, 80 million people are racist. Yeah. That's all. It's like, really, you can't, like to your point, I don't understand how you can walk around on 2 feet and call yourself a civil human being, citizen of the country, and you're unable to have a civil discussion with someone who disagrees with you on certain issues. It's like they're just blatantly racist, homophobic, sexist. What are you talking about?
Well, it was funny.
Like,
I think on like maybe 2 or 3 episodes ago, we talked about, or I brought up the point where I said, I think it's nice now where we've had Trump as president for 4 years. And I think the discussions, if you get into a political debate, like a Trump person versus a Kamala person or a Republican and Democrat, I feel like now it's not as at a high level of like, fierceness of like the blood boiling arguments that it was in 2016 or 2020. I feel like it's died down. And I feel like I immediately got corrected in that, last week when I was like, oh boy, people are still.
And by the way, to your point about like, so then why did you vote for it? It's like, no, they're okay. For example, you've got Elon Musk now and Vivek Ramaswamy, right? 2 super successful entrepreneurs, CEOs, presidents of companies, right? And I'm the CEO of a major corporation, so I know what the function of a CEO is. It's to find wasteful spending within a company and end that, and to also find, just inefficient processes happening within your company, right? And now, those two guys who are inarguably 2 of the most qualified people to have that responsibility in this country, now have the title of Commissioner of the Department of Government Efficiency.
Doge.
It's like, are you not excited about this? Like, if you really want government reform, truly, if you want real change in the federal bureaucracy, there has never been more of a potential for that. At this point, I mean, it's not even just that. We almost got thrown off social media for the Monsanto Bayer talk we were doing, right?
Right.
I mean, every time we put it up, it would get taken down, the audio would get taken off, whatever it is. And the guy who was behind that initial lawsuit, who got that snowball rolling, is now the head of Health and Human Resources. Is it Resources? Health and Human Services, RFK Jr. He was the guy who brought that lawsuit to Monsanto saying, my clients are claiming that your product gave them cancer. And they had to answer for that because he was right. This is the guy that's in charge of the health. It's like, you're not excited about this? It's not just that everyone who voted for Trump is a racist, sexist pig. It's because look who's backing him up. These are people with credentials, with careers, successful careers. Like, there's a reason they're over there, and it's because the system, the bureaucracy, needs to be reformed. It's fucked up.
And you'll notice too, what's interesting about that, you mentioned how the Democratic Party is no longer the Democratic Party of what it was 20, 30 years ago.
Right.
Look at all of the people appointed to powerful positions who are former Democrats. Donald Trump, former Democrat. Elon Musk, former Democrat. RFK Jr., former Democrat who was basically thrown out of the party.
Right.
Tulsi Gabbard,
and
former Democrat who
Tulsi Gabbard
again was pretty much forced out of the party. Mm-hmm. So all these people are just like, screw you.
Right.
Like, we're moving over to the side that accepts
quote that
us.
I said is a Bernie Sanders is saying that about the Democratic Party. Like, he's like, dude, these people are fucked up.
And also the funniest thing, speaking of which, was I heard my friends say this, and I heard the media say this, which was talking about the rise of the podcast in the presidential debate, right? And how Trump went on Joe Rogan, and Trump went on all of these kind of like bro podcasts, Theo Vaughn, Andrew Schultz, like Bussin' with the Boys, and like the Nelk Boys and Rogan. And the media and my friends were like, it stinks that like the left doesn't really have a Joe Rogan like figure. And I just like put my drink down and just started laughing. And they were like, what? And I go, Joe Rogan was the left figure.
Yes.
And the left just completely threw him under the bus and was like, no, he's a right-wing lunatic.
This is what I don't get about, like, I was talking about this to you before, like, my friends who I grew up with, they were all like...
And Elon. Yeah. Elon was a darling of the left.
No, they loved him.
10 years ago.
Electric cars. Hello? No, like, these people who were on the left... you know what? COVID, man, it really fucked everything up, dude. People got so brainwashed into that. Like... The reason why that happened was because, well, listen, like, somehow lifting weights now means you're a Republican. Which
there was a New York Times.
It's like insane.
There was a New York Times opinion article, and I almost just like unfollowed them based on the principle of this article that they allowed to be published, which was, I will not allow the far left to take over like health and fitness. And
far left
or the far right, sorry.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what? I started reading
how is
clips.
This a political
yeah, and I was just like, oh my God.
No,
like,
it's so fucked up, man. And like,
it's like these guys who are, they just assume, they see Joe Rogan, they see, these different fitness podcasts, and they're like, oh, look at these bros who are like muscled. And they're like, yeah, which demographic voted the most for Trump? It was men. Because men aren't being spoken to by the Democratic Party whatsoever.
Not at all.
Especially
dismissed.
Especially white men. And I know, like, cry me a river. White men aren't being whatever. But like, it's true. Like, the white men demographic, the Democrats have just like completely, not even just pushed this aside. We've been like absolutely chastised.
Absolutely.
And the right has just welcomed it.
And you expect us to just go like, you're right. You're right. I'm sorry for my whiteness. Yeah. I'm sorry for the.
And it's like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
What are you talking about?
That the Republican Party has noticed that there are positive male figures who weren't politically motivated whatsoever, but who were willing and open to have engaging discussions with political candidates. And the left was just like, well, we're not doing that. We're not going on that.
They're so afraid. The machine is so tightly knit now. They're afraid to say the wrong thing. And getting back to the thing about like, how like, Rogan, like, dude, the guy's the most, he's about free speech, super liberal. He's uber liberal. He's the epitome of liberal, yet he's the enemy. It's like, it's because there's something's gone on where the left has this like insanely cringe obsession with like corporate agenda and the like mainstream media, where like they are they won't say anything again. Like I don't understand how this happened. Guys, I'm one of you. I used to have hair down to here. I used to do drugs and hang out late, and like I was like fuck everybody. Like they're all wrong. But I left you guys because I was like, dude, why are you guys like so obsessed with like wearing your mask and being a good little bitch?
Yeah, when we were younger, the Republicans.
Like, why are you listening to these fucking people who are trying to tell you that you can't go outside?
Right.
Like, it's just Kyle. People are screaming dystopia, totalitarian fascism now because this guy's the president. I used to do that too on my stories during COVID, but at least I had a fucking reason or a leg to stand on, because I was saying totalitarian dystopia when we weren't allowed to go outside. We weren't allowed to go see our friends. We weren't allowed to go to work. You weren't allowed to go to the bar. Like, I had a very good reason. And the mandated vaccinations, like, whether you like the New York Times, again, the opinion poll, they tried to put out an article saying the Nazis didn't do this, but they most certainly did have public health mandates, right? For smallpox, all that kind of shit at the time. It's a Nazi fascist thing to say. Everyone needs to get this medication because they were trying to build this Aryan race, whatever. The point is that I had every reason under the sun to be screaming that something fucked up is going on in this country. This is not American. But like, just because this guy is the president, we're living in fascism. These people are pulling up in their Bugattis going, we're living in a fascist country. What are you talking about? He's not taken away any rights from anybody. He's not even, again, with the abortion thing. Kamala Harris, if she's the biggest thing in the world for abortion, why didn't she do anything about it for 4 years? She didn't even say anything. They didn't bring it up once. They didn't even try. So like, again, they ride on the abortion thing, and I don't want to like get into it. We don't have to, but like, I just don't understand how you can stand there and scream that we're living in a fascist, totalitarian dictatorship. Meanwhile, the last time he was in office, like, nothing happened.
Yeah.
Like, nothing.
I will say that is...
What are you talking about?
The abortion stance on the right was the one area where they probably fucked up. For sure. I mean, I think...
Well, they won, but yeah.
No, but I mean, in 2020, Roe v. Wade got overturned, I think, the summer before the election, and I think that certainly turned a large tide in favor of Biden, for sure.
Here's the thing about the left, too, their inability to have discussions. It's like, you guys on the left, you need to understand that there are people, whether you like them or not, whether you agree with them or not, who think that it's wrong to do that. You guys keep like refusing to understand where people are coming from. There are people who think that that's morally inappropriate. It's a sin. It's a whatever. You might think that that's absolutely ridiculous. I may think that that's absolutely ridiculous, but you can't dismiss millions of Americans. You can't. You have to at least be able to have the discussion about what that means to them, why it means what it means to them. You can't just go, you hate women. No, they don't. These people have daughters. They have wives. They respect them.
Yeah,
like,
well, sometimes it's like when you live in, especially New York, if you live in the city, like you're insulated. You probably, chances are you've never even met someone in your life who is like staunchly pro-life.
Probably not.
So you grow up around everyone who is pro-choice and you just assume, well, that's what everyone thinks and that's what's right. But like, yeah, I agree. Like I
like
think
they're incapable of like abstractly understanding anything. Like it's all just like you're racist, you're homophobic, you hate women. No, that's not good enough, man. That's not deep enough. You're not thinking. You're not really trying to solve anything.
I also think it's fucked up. We talked about this before the podcast, but even the fact that abortion is something that the government gets to decide.
I agree with you.
So
it's healthcare. It shouldn't be
a medical issue.
It shouldn't be something they're dictating or not. But in an argumentative way, you can say that it's more democratic now than it was as a federal right, because now it's like it's more up to the states. It's more of a decision to be made rather than a blanketed statement. And some would argue that that's more democratic than not. And it's like, again, you have to at least be able to have the understanding of that to really try and get anywhere with this issue. Like this blanket, like you hate women, it's just not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, because for all sakes and purposes, there might be states in the South, which I imagine the South is the area of the country that is overwhelmingly pro-life, right?
For sure.
There might be states in the country where 55% of the population of that state is pro-life, but they were mandated under Roe v. Wade that it had to be legal, whereas 55%, the majority of the state, is actually against that. So now it's actually a state issue. And again, if you're from New York, like whether you agree with it or not, the people of that state of Alabama, of Mississippi, are allowed to now vote on if it is legal or not. So whether or not you agree with the fact that it's even a government issue and that men can make that decision, I agree with you there. It's stupid, but it is more, like you said, it is technically more democratic and follows the Constitution more so than it did. Even if I disagree with it,
exactly
on just principle,
that's the part of that's the bitch of democracy. It's like things are going to be going on that you don't like, unless you want to live where everyone's exactly the same. You know what I mean? Because they have to be. Look at it communism, fascism, whatever. That's real shit.
Look at it this way. Imagine if during COVID there was a federal mandate that everyone had to get a vaccine.
They would have loved it. The left. They would have loved that.
Right. But
by the way, where are your you want to go to this restaurant? Where are your papers? Sound familiar? Like really? Like did they not see the irony there?
Yeah.
Anyway,
so I wanted to talk a little bit more about like kind of the podcast stuff. I think it's interesting how. So one thing that I noticed was obviously we listen to a lot of podcasts. I listened to both Trump and Kamala on different podcasts just to see, because I believe.
Yeah, I listened to her on Call Her Daddy.
Yeah, because I believe like whether you like podcasts or not, I think it is the first opportunity in American history where you truly get to see a presidential candidate's full personality, like warts and all, and you get to decide not what's like prejudged through clips and snippets and like gotcha type questions. You get to see a genuine conversation of them talking about their family, like where they grew up and their opinions on cars and sports teams and other stuff.
Like, what do you like popcorn?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It doesn't have to be this.
You just get to see. All right, is this person?
Matters.
Is this person the monster that I thought they were? Are they level-headed? Are they fun to hang out with? Can they shoot the shit? Like, or are they just as dumb as I thought they were, and it proved me right? Like, you get to decide that. And you and I can listen to the same podcast and come away with two completely different opinions, right? Versus like a CNN debate where you really only see cumulatively the candidates get to talk for maybe like 12 minutes. Like you don't really get to judge them. You get to see their like sort of vetted answers that are just like, they're not talking like a real human. They're just talking like, and I stand for the American people, and like, I think podcasts. Right.
9/11.
Yeah.
Family Guy.
I think podcasts it's just starting the boom because it tipped the scales. Where
next election, you will not win unless you go on a podcast.
100%.
A real one.
But I think, and I agree, but I think what will actually be the most interesting is that we talk about how the medium is the message, right?
Yeah.
When TV came along, it changed how how the public, sort of got information, and it changed sort of how opinions get vetted and stuff like that. It changed the type of people that get publicized, right? On TV, now you have to look good, you have to have shiny skin, good hair, nice teeth, right? So it made presidential candidates have to appear presidential. Whereas 150 years ago, you could be a fat slob.
I mean, look at Abe.
Yeah, no one really cared, right? So
now, like a mutant.
Now, with podcasts, the medium is the message, meaning I think it's actually going to change the type of personality or people who run for political office.
Right. Agreed.
Because you can no longer just run a 2-year campaign for president or Senate or whatever it is by going on stage, saying 5 minutes of a written speech and getting away with your good looks and your charisma. Now you actually have to be able to be someone who can hold a conversation and answer tough questions, answer weird questions, and come off as a normal, level-headed human being for 2+ hours. And I think that's going to change the type of people that rise to the top.
Yeah. It's like with Obama we were talking about. I loved that guy. I know he killed like 3,000 people a day.
But he was the epitome of presidential.
Right, but also, yes, but not really though. People say that, and that's what I'm trying to get at.
He was like cool and casual as well.
He does have that way of talking about things, but like it's just he wasn't always, he would do that, but he was able to be up there, and his shoulders were just looser than usual, and we were used to seeing, and like he was just cool, and presidents aren't cool. They weren't cool. They were like presidential, right? And yes, he was, but like he was in this new way, in this like modern progressive kind of way. And so he was able to bottle all that personality into 20 minutes or 30 minutes and let you know who he is. I mean, maybe it was all an act, right? But it didn't matter, because what people want, like, it's an act at the end of the day, right? Like, there is all these things of Kamala's speeches, like that they just layered them on top of each other. Like, they're the exact same words over and over again. And I know Trump has his talking points that are the same, but he would also go off the cuff and be himself. Like Barack, if you watch his real full long 30-minute addresses sometimes, it's a speech, but he was able to like look up and not look down for a few minutes and like shoot the shit with the crowd. That's what people really want. Look, all our bullshit aside, we're animals, right? We have intuition. You can tell if someone's bullshitting you. You can just tell.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna tell me that fucking lady wasn't bullshitting. I mean, it's just too obvious. She wasn't good enough. And so yes, to your point, it has to be podcasting going forward, or someone who at the very least is so good like Barack Obama that they can do it on TV. But he's rare. He's a rare guy.
I thought it was, and look, like Trump is obviously like the least presidential type of candidate, right?
That's what I mean.
But
it's not about being
but
presidential.
You have to look at the fact that he was a guy who has been in the spotlight his entire life.
Yeah, center of attention.
So
always.
when he is on that debate stage with 8 other candidates, like, dude, that's like he's in the living room, like on the couch with his feet up. You're right in saying like you could pretty much tell if you're a non-biased, maybe independent or moderate voter, you could tell very quickly listening to Kamala for 5 minutes.
She's full of shit.
That she didn't. She just had no real beliefs, like backbone, no like substance to her.
She flip-flopped on everything she said during her vice presidency. Come on.
Like, I am an independent voter. Like, as someone who, like, I don't like Trump. I don't like his rhetoric a lot of times. But I said to my friends who were very pro Kamala and felt like they were almost brainwashed to be like, oh, she's amazing. She's like perfect. She's a goddess. She's so good. She has so many good policies.
Goddess.
And I said, look, like, you can believe that, whatever. But Trump right now has been in the political spotlight for the last 10 years. He is the like shining star. He is the epitome of American brand. Like, he is Nike. He got shot at. He got shot in the ear. He stands up, says "fight" in front of an American flag with blood rushing down his face. Like, he is the fucking.
You fucking kidding
on
me?
Top of the world. And like, to run against him,
you're gonna come up with
her, like, against Nike. You're gonna give me Puma?
Well, that's what I mean.
You know, like
be better.
Yeah,
it's not even about her. Just because, like, dude, honestly, she's an actress. It's they're all whatever. But get a better actor, if anything.
Yeah.
You can't be serious with that.
Yeah, and it was remarkable that my friends who were very liberal and very, very in the Kamala camp couldn't admit the gaslighting that took place. And I was personally offended by, and I'm sure many people were, by the fact that, 6 months ago when Biden was, still going on debates and stuff, Kamala was like the laughingstock.
Oh, yeah.
And she was like this bumbling idiot VP who got laughed out of Iowa in 2020.
Correct.
Like couldn't hold
Wasn't
a candle.
Even a consideration.
What is even a consideration? It was just like drop out immediately. And then, she becomes VP. She's the first, woman of color.
Didn't say a word
VP.
for 4 years.
And they kind of just like, we're like, hey, we're going to leave you. Like, don't say anything. Like, don't be in public, whatever like that. And then Biden drops out. And magically, overnight.
It's like you really can't. You're really going to look me in the eye and tell me that isn't
she's on the cover
bullshit?
of Time magazine, and I'm like, all right,
are you
really
kidding?
like
no? But like, do you understand, Kyle? Like, what world do these people live in? Like, they're just so content with lying to themselves. All of a sudden, she's Beyonce. It just makes no sense at all. And they're like, no, she's a woman of color. Who the fuck cares? What does it have to do with anything? That's the other thing. They call us racist. They call us sexist. They're the ones judging everyone's character based on their skin color and what's between their legs. This was not MLK's dream. It was the exact opposite of that. He said specifically, I have a dream that my children will be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character and not what's between their legs. That's what these people, they're lost in it. They're completely lost in this world of DEI and equity and or whatever. It's so backwards from what they want. There's a great expression: the more you try to prevent something, the more likely you are to cause it. That is exactly true with this situation. It's so true. All they're looking for is the black, the female, great, she's got a disability, even better. Like, no one actually cares about that shit. That's the problem. That was always the problem. It's not about your skin or your vagina. It's not about that. If Tulsi Gabbard ran against Donald Trump, I would have voted for her. She's a woman.
100%.
It has nothing to do with that.
And Hillary Clinton got more of the popular vote. She got more of the popular vote.
How are we an inherently sexist country if that happened? Can I read that thing I wanted to tell you that I wanted to read now?
Oh, yeah.
Because I did this thing on my thing that I'm doing with all the movies and shit. George Carlin has this great rant called Modern Man, and it's from 2008. And he's like really obsessed with language, George Carlin. He's like a linguist in that sense. He's kind of like he's a Ralph Waldo Emerson. Like, he's an essayist. Like, he used to write these really long things. And hold on, let me find it here. So I asked ChatGPT, I was like, man, the first thing of Modern Man is, I'm a modern man, I'm a man for the millennium, digital and smoke-free, a diversified, multicultural, postmodern deconstructionist, politically, anatomically, and ecologically incorrect. And I know that sounds like word jumble because it is. The point is, at that time, all these new terms were coming up into the culture, and he was just making fun of that. Like, no, everyone's saying, they don't even know what the hell they're talking about, right? So anyway, I said, ChatGPT, can you write me text about the modern woke liberal in the style of George Carlin's Modern Man? And this is what it came up with. I'm a woke warrior, a virtue-flagging, signal-boosting, self-righteous soldier in the army of enlightenment. I'm a champion of change, a crusader of correctness, and the undisputed heavyweight of hashtags. I'm woke to the world and lit to the struggle. I'm the first to call you out and the last to check my own reflection. I'm a progressive prophet, a sensitivity sniper, and a decoder of the problematic. I'm on a diet of cancel culture and outrage, served cold, no dessert. I'm alert to offense, immune to irony, and forever ready to shame with no regrets. I'm fluent in microaggressions, and I can sniff out a dog whistle a mile away. I'm a gatekeeper of guilt and an officer of offense. I know it's problematic. I know it's problematic adjacent, and I'm working on being preemptively angry about things you haven't even thought of yet. I'm so progressive, I make the left look like they need a jump start. I'm culturally literate, morally elite, and unapologetically unimpressed by your nostalgia. Your icons, overrated. Your classics, problematic. I'm here to upgrade the timeline, rewrite the script, and cut anything with a trace of 90s humor. I'll tear down your heroes and leave you standing with nothing but the flawless fabric of today's hypersensitive, deeply fragile present. Last part. I'm a reformer without rest, a virtue without vice, and if I catch even a whiff of an outdated joke in your routine, you'll be gone faster than you can say just kidding.
Sounds like every undergrad at Columbia.
It sounds like every stupid person who's walking around calling white people inherently racist for voting for Donald Trump.
Wow.
It's just
ChatGPT. I also read similar to that. This journalist or writer, Dudley Newright on Substack. He has this great
Newright.
Yeah, great name. But he wrote a great article. It was called Millennial Snot, which is this term of basically how millennials in the political age have tried to essentially be really literate on, cultural issues, but also try to sound cool and like use this like sort of snotty language of sarcasm within like academic structures. So he uses all these examples of like literal PhDs at Ivy League schools who are tweeting almost like a teenage girl and trying to like sound almost like culturally linguistic. And he uses these examples of like threads from actual like professors in college. And he's like, I was struck by how these people spoke to one another. Here are some of the phrases. I mean, I'm sorry. Let's be very clear here. Or so true, eye roll emoji. And this is an extremely bad look for you. Or, frankly, and history PhD here. And this thread is a lot.
Oh, right.
Like what is this
like they're
language?
Trying to relate. Right.
Yeah. And it's like this sort of like self-deprecating, like...
You know what it is, too?
like dunking on people,
Right. Like this pissed me off. Yeah. I got what you're saying. Yes. It's like trying to make it like, dude, you're so like old and like out of this thing.
Exactly.
And it's just like, what's going to happen is nothing that they're screaming and crying about. The gay camps, did you know that some women now are wearing like blue bracelets in public to let everyone know that they didn't vote for him? No. Yeah. Like they're creating the dystopia for themselves. Like they're like your tag. Yeah. Like that's something that a fascist dictator would make somebody do. Like your papers, like a Jew. These fucking people, they call him Hitler. Like it's like I don't understand that there's not even one like crossover. Like literally, I just don't even, whatever, man. It's like they're creating their own dystopia. Some women are like ordering, Handmaid's Tale's outfit and shit. Blessed be the fucking fruit and shit.
So it's interesting. Like it's how some people that I know were honestly like,
please don't forget what you're gonna say. I just want someone to answer for themselves when the dystopian nightmare just never comes. Like, how do they say it without, you know what I'm saying? Like they must know that that's not really going to happen, no?
Well, to be honest, like, it's not, this isn't happening in a vacuum just with Donald Trump, right? It's happened historically with any candidate where when your candidate loses, you assume the worst of what the president-elect has done, right? Like, remember when Obama won, everyone thought we were going to be a communist country, right? So it's a lot of...
By the way, though, I'm just saying I have a level head because when Biden beat Trump, I said, well, there's going to be a giant fucking war. That's all I can tell you. And there's two. Yeah. So you can be realistic in that way. Mm-hmm. The Ukrainian conflict, and again, you can say, all I'm telling you is there's two major wars going. As soon as he got elected, I was like, I didn't say, we're all going to die and a socialist nightmare. I said there's going to be a major global conflict. And there are two. So like, yeah.
Anyway, no, what I was saying was it's interesting how some of my friends who are liberal were like completely blindsided by the turnout of the election, right?
Like, well, I didn't think that.
Well, because, and it's hard to know, like, what do you believe anymore when you see these polls where it's like, oh, it's the tightest race we've seen. It's 50-50, and then it's a landslide, and it's just like,
well, apparently those aren't like accurate at
oh,
all.
I know. Polls are probably total
Apparently,
bullshit.
I
Yes.
don't, you know.
So I heard this clip, which I sent to you, is this guy, this professor and like former journalist of the New Republic, Leon Westerley or something like that. And he brought up a really interesting point about democracies. And he said, in an open society,
I read it.
in an open society, which is the democracy, we place an enormous amount of value on the public's opinions, right? Because the people get to vote with their feet. And he said, so in a place where the quality, it means the quality of the public's opinions determines the quality of our politics, which really means the quality of our politics is the direct result of the quality of our opinion formation. And in an open society, our opinion formation is formed by the machinery of the media and education. So the media and education right now, he was claiming that there's been a complete breakdown in our opinion formation by media and education, which is the result of a lot of this chaos. But he explained, which was the most interesting part of this, which was this isn't a political issue. It's a cultural issue. And it's not something that can be washed away in an election cycle. This is something that takes decades to correct. And right now, you kind of have to agree with him with the fact that you or I can read the same books, listen to the same podcasts, read the same articles, but have friends who live next door who have no insight into those books, podcasts, and TV shows. They're watching a completely different one, and we're in two isolated worlds where we're hearing completely different opinions. And I think this is a really interesting point where we're starting to definitely see a breakdown in mainstream media. Like, that's an obvious point. We've talked about this, but there's a huge portion of the population who still relies and gets all of their news from mainstream media sources. So I think I don't have an answer for it, but I think it is a big problem, which is just finding out what places to get your information where you have a level of trust in. And I think, I think the breakdown of mainstream media, like, I've kind of like heralded it because I think it kind of was necessary. I think it needed to break down. I think it needed to have a reckoning and sort of, like the Democrats, like, look themselves in the mirror and be like, how did we fuck this up? Like the New York Times and Wall Street, like all these, CNN, MSNBC. But I'm starting to change my opinion on that, where I actually do think trust in media is a critical part of living in a democracy. You need the public, you need the entire 330 million people in the US to have, at least 50+% trust levels in some forms of media where they know they're not getting bullshitted to, they know they're not getting lied to, and they can agree on some basic facts. And I think that has broken down. I think the facts that I'm seeing and the facts that you're seeing, the facts that our neighbors, our friends are seeing can be completely different. And that's, I think, why sometimes these arguments that we have in political debates, like, they're not cordial, because you're just like, you're defacing what they're saying because you're like, oh, well, that's been debunked. And they're defacing what you're saying with like, well, I saw this TikTok video and they said that's not true. So it's just like this very difficult landscape to navigate right now. And I don't know how much of it is our own institutions breaking down, foreign, infiltration, which is definitely a part of it, or our own sort of unraveling with algorithms and, the fact that we let a lot of these social media things kind of run our lives and form our opinions.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there needs to be a fabric or a compass, at least, whether it's moral or whether it's political or whether it's truth or whatever it is. And unfortunately, the information age hit at a time where we were completely secular. So like, it was this, I just imagine this bomb going off, right? And everyone's getting hit with shrapnel, but it's a fact about this that happened. It's another fact about this that happened. It's one perspective, another perspective, and you just don't know what to do, because most people, I feel like in a world where people had at least a moral compass, like religion, it doesn't have to be, but at least then there would have been some kind of a principle within yourself where you would have been able to at least navigate your opinion about what you got hit with. But now it's just like people are also just kind of like going, well, some people are like, hey, I don't know, and some people are going, well, it's fucked up, and some people are going, no, but what about this? And it's to put it simply, it's just very complicated now. It's super complicated, and we're gonna need time, like years, to sort that out. I don't think we're ever gonna have a source of true media anymore. It used to be the news. It just what's on the like that was the facts. Like that was just what's going on. I don't think that's ever going to happen again because I don't think it can. I think that we're as a culture, and I think that we're actually on our way there now with this new administration. Not to be like a MAGA maha like psycho about it, but like truly, at least now, like I was talking about before, there's chance for like they're addressing this issue. They've talked about it openly about we need to dismantle the media, the infrastructure of that right now because obviously it's failing the country. Like no one is listening. I mean, I'm sorry, no one is taking it as seriously as they used to, right? And that's a problem. There's no trust in it. So things are being done about it, and that's a good thing. If we had gotten the other administration, it would have been business as usual. Like at least with this, there's going
I
to
agree
be
with you there. Yeah.
There's going to be at least an addressing of that problem because it needs to be addressed. I agree with you, but who knows how that's going to look? I think that Doge will have a lot to do with that. Government efficiency. I just think that we're in a time now where it's unfortunately like you can't silence everyone. Like we all have 4K resolution video cameras in our pocket. Like if 30,000 people were at a thing, you're going to get 30,000 different opinions. A lot. Like it's just the way it is.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there because I think that's what changed a lot of my views over the last like 4 or 5 years was the fact that the business as usual was the perfect quote that you said there because
something had to change.
Business as usual was perfect because you saw, like you said, COVID kind of fucked everyone's minds, and I think we saw the blatant sort of. It was almost like we've been watching this play our whole lives, the political theater of play, and we kind of all agreed that we believed the actors on the stage. We knew it was a play, and then COVID sort of just like the curtains fell, and like it was the first time you saw all the shit that was behind the curtain, and you're like, oh wait, all of this is like this is fucked up. There's corporate infiltration. There's like illegal insider trading. There's like just there's the war machine. There's all of these engines that are just keeping this running that like are just gross and filthy. And like you saw the dirty.
Well, not to mention we also were. It's become so obvious that we were being lied to. Not just about COVID. Even like just for my latest example that I can think of is Joe Biden's mental acuity is better than it's ever been, the whole thing. And it's just like, you're just lying to me. Like, it's not like I think you're lying to me. I can see pure and simply that you're lying to me. And it never used to be that way. It used to be much easier to lie to everybody.
Yeah, and now you've said this direct quote on the podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it got taken down, by the way. Yeah. And it's just, so again, it's just like, hey, man, at a certain point, like, you need to answer for what you just did. Like, you lied to... Dude, he's standing up there. His mental acuity is great. He's never been more sharp. I talk to him on a weekly basis, and he said he's never been more mentally capable.
Well, the quote, if there's a clip or a compilation clip of every mainstream media organization saying the same exact phrase, sharp as a tack.
Sharp as a tack.
Every single one. Sharp as a tack. He's sharp as a tack.
And it's just like if you're so blatantly lying to everybody, you can't expect that we're going to just, forget that. People don't forget that. They don't forget that you just lied right to my face. And then, yeah, it became, like you said, the curtain fell. It became it used to be this like kind of under the table understanding. You're an actor, but my best interest is still probably in your heart. Now it's just obvious. You don't lie to people that you care about. You don't. And Yeah, that's just not good. It's just it became the cat's out of the bag. Let's put it that way. Everyone knows the truth now, and something needs to be done about it. And like I said, at least with this administration, something will get done instead of business as usual.
I agree. I think that was a big shift for me. Was even like, and I'm not saying I have full faith that Trump's administration is going to like overhaul everything and like improve it.
Me neither.
But I agree. It was, to me, their messaging was, we are at least going to address this.
Yes.
And that was a huge step for me. It was addressing free speech. It was addressing all this woke shit with language and DEI, and like going way too far with some of these transgender and identity politics. It was addressing the public health and the pharmaceutical industry and how corrupt that is. It was addressing all these, bogus wars that we're going into, and just pouring money into countries that no one really care. Or we care about them, but like pour the money.
Jimmy Kimmel, our allies in Ukraine.
Yeah, no. Look at all of the major cities in the U.S. that are run by Democratic mayors. They're all going to shit, and that's not hyperbole. Like you go.
And then what happened? Eric Adams came out and said, we got to do something about this. And next day, lawsuit.
Right.
Next day, investigated. Next day.
And yeah,
this guy, this new guy, Matt Gaetz,
Attorney General.
Yeah. He announces him today. Sexual assault, 17-year-old. It's just like, they have no grace. They're just not good at being corrupt, the Dems. Like, and it's not even that they're because everyone is, but like, it's just like really the next day.
Well, I listened to a very good, or maybe not good. It was kind of like sad at the same time, but it was a political debate hosted by the Free Press with Barry Weiss between Ben Shapiro and Sam Harris. And Sam Harris, by the way, like, respect the guy a lot. He's a great intellectual thinker. He has his meditation app. He's very brilliant, but like when it comes to politics, he's definitely gone like way over the deep end. And like he has some fucking wild opinions, and you can tell like Trump derangement syndrome has become kind of
he's one of those people.
He's clear Trump
one of those people.
Syndrome, and it's like
he's a totalitarian dictator.
And like Ben Shapiro, whether you like him or not, I like just listening to him debate because he goes like point by point and is very logical with debating other people. And Sam Harris just like wouldn't concede on many points. But the one point that Ben Shapiro brought up that I thought was funny was he said, look, Trump is very in your face about, the ways that he's fucked up or like does weird things or has weird opinions or like wants to attack his enemies or whatever it is. The Democrats are just kings of subtlety. Like they are masters at the subtle, just like, oh, we're going to throw you under the bus. Like, look at what they did to Biden, like taking him out. Like there was no public address. There was no like speech. It was a tweet from like his account. Yep. And it was just like, you're out. And it was just this subtle, like, sort of conniving, very like, we're going to smile on camera and pretend like everything's okay.
Right. And like, I guess that people on the left, they like supporters, they just are okay with like swallowing that obviousness and like just not being honest with themselves. I think too, though,
if you're not paying really close attention to those subtleties, it's very easy to just not see them or dismiss them. I think if you're not, at least if you're not,
I don't know how I can always spot a bullshitter. I think
it goes back to the media that you're consuming, where this is why I think X or Elon buying Twitter was a very, very valuable thing, because if you've been on Twitter, on X, like, yes, it's definitely changed a lot over the last year or so. You can argue for better or for worse, but like you see immediately all of the sort of like non-mainstream media or all of the mainstream media like stories immediately get debunked on X. Like right after Trump's assassination, if you go on X, like you find out all the shit that really happened within 10, 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you're watching CNN, like you could watch it for the next 2 weeks and have no idea what's going on.
People think that like still they just think that he
planned it or faked
planned
it.
that and faked it and like.
But I think it goes back to the media consumption where
the guy got shot in the fucking head.
I think if you're consuming that like kind of the liberal bubble of news and you're only following those accounts,
someone died.
Yeah, I know.
Someone's father died.
I didn't even address it because it's such a ridiculous notion. But yeah, I think it's hard. It's easy to be blinded by belief or like faith in the ideology when your entire feed is the Atlantic and the New Yorker and CNN, CNBC, and like that's all you follow. And like I follow all those too, but I also follow the opposite ones. Right. Then I also follow the independent journalists. I also follow, the kind of non-mainstream media. I follow the comedians who make fun of both sides. I follow like every sort of like nook and cranny. It's a different form, and I think that's why when people are like, well, he says what he thinks, and I used to roll my eyes at that, where I'm just like, oh, you just like Trump because he just talks like
me too.
A plumber. I'm like, oh, that's the only reason you like him. But now I'm actually starting to be like, well, yeah, you can take him at face value. But also after having listened to him on podcasts, I probably listened to like 4 hours of him just like shoot the shit. I've realized that 25-30% of what he says, he just needs to get it out of his system. It's just he needs to get his pompous ego or like ridiculous shit. Also, every third word he says is very, or like, it's like an adverb of like some,
right.
Oh, he's the best. He's very good. He's amazing. He's incredible. He's the coolest. He's the best. Like I've never seen anyone better. He needs to just get that out of his system and compliment himself a little bit.
It's like me, how I gotta vent.
Yeah.
And then I can
And
be
now
normal.
once I've realized that pattern, he also does the weave where he just like doesn't answer a question directly. He kind of goes off in like 10
And that's the thing,
tangents.
because like I know everyone on the left didn't even bother listening to the Rogan episode with him. Like, by the way, Rogan was not like he was telling him, you're weaving, come back. I like even Joe was like, hey man, you're going off, you're not answering the question. Like, come
Andrew
back
Schultz did the same thing.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, cut it out. Answer the question.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's
Which
just,
like the mainstream media sometimes won't even do that.
Right.
They'll just like,
well, they love letting him go up.
or they'll
and
just
they can be
cut
like,
him off.
See?
Yeah. Or they'll just cut him off and be like, answer the question, sir. Answer the question.
Yeah.
Like,
by the way, I will say, I don't know if you saw this, but Joe and him like met at the White House. Very nice fireplace going in the background.
Joe Biden?
Oh yeah. And Joe, like I know him, but like, he was like, Donald, Mr. President-elect, former president, it's great to see you again. Smiling, good, firm handshake. I want to make this transition as peaceful as possible. Glad to have you back. And like Donald Trump was like, Joe, politics is a rough game and it doesn't always go the way you thought, but I'm glad to be here. Thank you for being so hospitable and making this such a wonderful experience. I'm like, this guy voted for Trump. There's no fucking way he didn't vote for Trump. There is no way. No way he didn't vote for Trump, dude. Like, especially after getting thrown out of his own fucking, job by the people he trusted, I'm sure. It's funny. But look, all this to say, I mean, like, yeah, look, again, it's just, I just can't believe people are going to post until the next election about how we're living in a fascist dictator, and we're just,
there was some people,
it's just unbelievably
there
not
was
true.
Some friends or like people I knew from like college and high school and stuff where if I went on social media and looked at like their page the next day,
I muted so many people.
Dude, it literally looked like it was the day after like 9/11.
Yeah.
Like the way they were reacting.
No, the crying, Kyle, the tears, the actual
some
like
people were literally
hysterics,
like, hey, I know it's really hard to be on social media today and it's a day of mourning. And I'm
fucking
like,
babies.
I was like,
would you get over it already?
Yeah.
Like really, like when he lost last time, you know what I put on my story? Joe Biden is my president. And congratulations. Because, like, he won.
Oh, I even said, like, obviously I know if...
Obviously he didn't. It was rigged. But, like, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
No, I was going to say, like, obviously if Trump lost, like, the guys
people would have been upset.
People would have been nuts. But what my hunch is the right, if Trump lost and Kamala won, would have been a lot funnier.
Of
course.
It
would have been like,
we can at least laugh,
poking fun and laughing, whereas the left was just so somber and like it was like someone died.
People got off work.
Yeah,
they were like, just take the day, just take your time.
Someone started a Zoom meeting and it was like that Nancy Pelosi meme where it's like good morning,
right,
or like not such a good morning based on the circumstances.
Dude, I could never work in a white collar environment, dude. I would just be like, you guys are all a bunch of fucking losers, man. Like, what the fuck are you guys doing? You're acting like this is the end of the world here, and to them it is. It's so crazy, and then it's obviously not, and they still don't see it. It just really blows my mind. It really does.
I just feel like I didn't really get into politics until maybe like 2016, But my whole life, I've always just been like, whoever gets elected president, like, it doesn't really change my daily life that much.
It sways left and right. Look, we dealt with it. There were people with their dick and balls out, wearing dresses and flashing their tits on the White House lawn. That's the left, baby. I'm not going to freak out and cry, during the last administration when that was going on. Like, it's God bless them. Like, there are definitely people who feel a certain way about that, right? But like you said, on the right, we're just able to kind of laugh it off. On the left, they make it like it's like we're all gonna die or something, and it's like you need to chill.
Like, is my life that markedly different from 2016 versus now?
Dude, look, in the end, it's up to you, pal.
Yeah, obviously,
right?
there's minor stuff. There's minor stuff in the economy and, like, maybe a few laws and everything like that. But really, like, my daily life, I do the same shit every day. I wake up, take a piss, have a coffee, go to work. Like, not much has changed.
Right.
Really. And if Kamala won, like, it'd be the same way. Like,
if Kamala won,
it'd be another Wednesday,
Whatever, man.
Anyway, let's make this lighter. Let's do a movie scene for you.
Sure.
I want to do something from Austin Powers.
Yeah, man. It's the best.
I'm trying to think of, you did the scene with...
Whatever happened to Mike Myers?
I know, right?
I just don't, like...
He's like...
Well, he tried the Guru or something, and it didn't work out.
Yeah, but that was like 20 years ago.
Yeah, I know. I don't know where he is. I have no clue where he is.
How about Austin Powers? I'm going to go with Goldmember.
Okay. Like the character?
No, the movie, Goldmember.
Oh, good. Because I don't feel like doing the accent.
Let's do
right now.
I don't have a scene in mind, but do you have any fat bastard scenes?
Yeah, fat bastard is easy, man. Because he's you know what it is with him? He's easy because he's not in the movie all that much. He's just kind of but every time he is, it's iconic.
It's also funny because it's basically the same voice as Shrek.
It is. It's Scottish, right?
Yeah.
I guess. I'll do I'll do
the one where he farts.
Yeah, and I even do a good fart for that too. Okay, but when you're an overweight child in a society that demands perfection, when your sense of right, wrong, fair and unfair will always be tragically skewed. Did you just soil yourself? Maybe. It did sound a little wet, didn't it? Right at the end. Ooh. Let's have a smell of that. Ooh, wafting. Oh, everyone likes their own brand, don't they? This is magic. All right, analysis. Oh, yeah. Oh, it smells like carrots and throw up. Oh, that could gag a maggot. I smell like hot, sick ass and a dead carcass. Oh, even Stink would say that stinks. Oh, you know when you go into an apartment building and you smell other people's cooking on each floor and you go, what are they cooking? That plus crap. Oh, then that's it. And then Beyonce and him are just standing there like,
oh man,
oh my God.
What a great character.
Unbelievable that he thought of that at all.
Yeah.
All right, let's go home.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. Thanks everyone for listening.
Thanks everyone, and I'll see you in the camps, I guess. Psychos, fucking relax. What the hell are you talking about? Anyway, good night, everybody.
Love you. Good night.